Hey, Gopher fans, it's Mike Grimm from Gopher Radio and gophersports.com. And yes, this is another edition of Gopher Talk. It's presented by Affinity Plus, committed to the safety of their members, their employees, and their communities during this time. Learn more at affinityplus.com. And with us, as you can see, is Joe Rossi, Golden Gopher Football defensive coordinator. We are on our Zoom chat here. And first of all, good to see you, Coach.
You too, Mike. Appreciate you having me on.
Well, it's a unique time, no question about it. You guys aren't able to get on campus. Obviously, spring football was cut short. I know you guys are doing a bunch of Zoom meetings. Before we get into the football side of things, how are things going for you spending all this time at home with the family?
Oh, it's great. You know, I got a 4-year-old and a 1.5-year-old, so they're excited. If they come bursting in at some point, don't be shocked. The wife talked me into getting a dog, so there's havoc being wreaked at the Rossi household.
How busy of a time is this right now? It's traditionally a busy time anyway for coaches, but between meetings with current players and then I'm guessing calls and virtual meetings with prospective players and all of that stuff, what's a average day of Joe Rossi look like right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty similar to what it would be if we were, in the office. We'd be spring recruiting right now, but with the exception of that, I mean, we're getting together as a staff, doing some prep on future opponents, some self-scout things. Then, as you mentioned, we're with the players as much as we legally can be. And then also, we're doing a lot of recruiting, and, it has to fall into the virtual realm.
And I know you can't talk specifics about commitments that have been made public, but you can talk generally about the way things have been going, and it looks like things have been going in a positive manner. Are you happy with kind of how that part of it's going? It looks like if all would go well, you're adding some studs on defense.
Yeah, it's definitely exciting. I think it's been different, and you have to adapt. Coach Fleck has put together an elite plan, and then obviously the recruiting staff, and we're following it and just working the phones, working the video chats or the FaceTimes and the Zooms and those things, everything we're allowed to do. And we've had some real positive results, and we got some more here in the future, and we're excited about it.
You have had some kids verbal, I guess most of them that haven't even been on campus. What is, I mean, not to give away the secrets or the sauce behind the secret, but can you give us a little insight into how one of these recruitments goes, and that you have kids? Because for years we've heard, hey, once we can get them on campus, we can sell them on how great Minnesota is. Well, you guys are now doing it without even getting them on campus.
Yeah, I think the key in recruiting has always been relationships. And just the relationship has to be developed in a little bit of a different way. And then you have to get creative with how you actually show them the campus. And, the thing about our program and our culture is we believe that the people really are the separation between us and other schools. And so, if we can get the relationship going and then provide them through technology what it's going to look like when they get here, our mindset is once you get here, like if you really like it now, when you get here, you're going to be blown away. And that kind of really has been kind of the thing that we've kind of hung our hat on.
Well, speaking of hanging your hat on something, I'm guessing that you're able to talk and want to talk and say how proud you are of these guys that have been drafted here in the last couple of weeks. Obviously, the NFL draft was a big time for the Gophers, a program record in the modern era with 5 selected, 4 on defense. I'm going to ask you specifically if you just give us your thoughts on each of these guys, because I know you love them all. There's no doubt about that. But let's kind of go in order, and we'll start with Antoine Winfield, the 45th overall pick, second rounder, goes to Tampa Bay. Looks like a good situation, projected starter already. How about Antoine Winfield Jr.?
It was awesome to see. He's such a great kid and a great person. You could say that about all these guys, and he had such a phenomenal year. And everyone sees him gets drafted, and they forget about maybe a little bit of the hardship that he had to go through. Having his season cut short 2 years in a row. I can remember there was a scout that I had a relationship with, and when Antoine, had decided that he was going to, declare for the draft, he messaged me, and he hadn't watched his film yet. And he said, what can you tell me about this guy? Because, we thought very, very highly of him, but the NFL, he wasn't on the NFL radar because of the fact that he had been cut short 2 years in a row. And I said, oh, you're going to love him. I said, this guy's, he's top notch. I challenge you to find someone better. So later in the day, he messaged me back and he goes, that guy's a stud. And I said, yeah, we know that. And so then, and it kind of went from there. So very excited to see that for him.
And I think with Antoine, he's so versatile. There are some spots that he still might even be used where he has. And I always used to joke, I'm not an evaluator or a coach, but he played safety, and that's probably, I mean, that is his spot. But if you were put in a bind and he had to play cornerback, he could have played cornerback in the Big Ten every single down, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he could play, nickel. He could play, corner. I think if you're in the corner world and you're playing with, especially the run support that he provides, if you're a cover two team, a slice, team where you can use him in support. But yeah, he that was the great thing about him is, I've kind of said it before, like, he might not be the best in one particular category. And when I say best, I mean best in the country. I'm not talking like best in like the state or something like that. I'm talking NFL best. He might not be the best in any one category, but he doesn't have a weakness. And so he is good at everything. Everything you would ask a safety to do, he's really good at. And so when you put the whole total package together, I don't know that you find someone who's better than him.
Yeah, and there's probably some places they could find in the return game and special teams, certainly as a rookie. All right, let's talk about Kamal Martin, a guy who also had some time cut short, particularly this year with injury. But when he was out there, I recall those back-to-back weeks, Fresno State and Purdue, where he had like 25 or 30 tackles and a couple of interceptions. And when he was healthy, he was very good, and a fifth-round pick to Green Bay.
Yeah, no doubt. Kamal had a huge year. He became, he was one of those guys. We moved him inside, and he just showed to be a natural. I really believe that he's a second or third round talent, but then the injuries kind of kept him from that. And then also, a lot of people aren't aware, even in some of the games that he played, he was kind of gutting it out for us and wasn't at full speed. And that's just a testament to him, the type of character, the toughness, the love for the state and his team that he displayed. But yeah, I mean, when he was healthy, he was playing at truly an elite level. And, I think he's pretty close to being healthy. And, I think they got a good one in Green Bay. So.
Then the Giants took Gophers in the seventh round in relatively quick fashion. Let's start with Carter Coughlin. It's interesting. We talked about Winfield, some of his versatility. I know I'll never forget you were at one of the quarterback clubs talking about strategies and said part of why Antoine Winfield got this particular sack was because we trusted Carter Coughlin in covering a back out of the backfield, I think, if memory serves me, that normally would have been Antoine's assignment. So Coughlin, as a defensive end, also brings some stuff. And, man, that guy's motor never shuts off.
No doubt. No one plays harder than him. And with the motor that he plays with, he has versatility. He's one of those classic, they call them tweeners in the NFL, that's a little bit undersized, true DN, and, a little bit bigger linebacker. But, a lot of the NFL, more so than the college ranks, plays the 3-4 scheme. And those guys are very valuable to them. And also the ability to rush the passer. So, he's done things in the run game. He's done things in coverage. He's obviously rushed the passer. So I think that's what's attractive to the Giants.
And then Chris Williamson, who you used as a nickel and a nickel back and a slot guy, and also could play some corner and had some big plays. I remember that game against Penn State where he knocked that fourth down pass away in the end zone, had a pick six in an important piece of a game early in the non-conference schedule. That's a kid that came in as a transfer, and he certainly produced for the Golden Gophers.
Absolutely. He's got some flexibility, as you kind of hinted to, playing in the nickel and the slot for us. Was a true corner. I think there's flexibility even at the next level to play at safety. He kind of, acquitted himself in the, physicality in the run game which kind of translates to safety at the next level too. So it'll be interesting to see how they use him. He runs really well. Another kid that had to overcome some adversity, early in his career. He transferred, and then, he had some injuries here that kept him out of the mix, and then he was able to overcome it. And I think you could really say that about all four of those guys that were drafted. At some point along the way, they were able to overcome some adversity to put themselves in the position that they're in now. And I think that'll serve them well because it'll be hard at the next level. It always is. It's the best of the best, and there will be some highs and there'll be some lows, and it'll be their ability to respond that'll determine their ultimate success. And, we're rooting for them, and we expect great things from them.
Well, we have about a minute left is all. I do want to ask you about a couple of other kids real quickly, maybe as a group answer. And we're talking about Thomas Barber, local kid who maybe will get a shot at a tryout. Sam Renner, local kid who was a walk-on. And then who's the third one I'm thinking of here? Winston Delatabadir, whose character is off the charts, kid from Baltimore. Hopefully those guys get some opportunity. I know Renner has signed with somebody.
Yeah, Renner with the Rams. He's a guy. I love his story because of how much of a transformation he underwent from a walk on to a guy that was a playmaker for us. With Winston and Thomas and Tayon Evers, you could throw in there as well. I've reached out and talked to those guys, all three of them, and said, hey, you just got to be ready. You don't know when the opportunity is going to come. You have to anticipate that it is going to come, and if you get it, you got to not give it back. That's kind of got to be the mentality. And all three of those are special guys. Winston and Thomas, from the leadership standpoint, what they brought to the program. I put up a quote yesterday or 2 days ago to the defense, and I'm paraphrasing, but it was basically, listen, a lot of times all the great players get the credit, but the players that make the team great are just as valuable, because there's guys in our room that maybe aren't great players, but they make people around them great. And those guys are just as valuable. And when I saw that quote, I thought of Thomas Barber and Winston, because you couldn't sum those two guys up any better than that.
Indeed. Well, it's 5 players drafted in the last 2 years, and you'll have a few holes to plug, which I know you're not probably that eager to go, but I know you also have a lot of kids that you're really eager to see get their chance too, and some guys that already have some starting experience and playing experience that will plug some of those holes. But it's a good news, bad news thing. Good news is you're producing a lot of players now getting into the NFL and have to replace them. That's maybe the bad news on that side.
Yeah, I think that's the new reality. I think that's the type of position we want to be in. We want to be a program where we're losing guys every year to the NFL. We're going to have more guys probably as the future, unfolds, that maybe decide that they're going to leave early, like Antoine Winfield. But that's a good problem. That's a problem we want to have. Creates opportunity for younger guys. It's something that we can sell in recruiting, that, hey, this is a program that's not only recruiting well, but developing well and putting guys to the next level. But we have a lot of guys in our core group that were in rotations last year that started games. We played 8 to 10 guys up front in almost every game. So we had a lot of guys playing, and that's, number one, it helps keep us fresh and healthy. But two, when guys do move on, you've got guys who've played in games.
Well, very good. Enjoy the rest of, I guess, what we're now into late spring, moving into, I guess, mid-spring, moving into a late spring. And hopefully we all can get back on campus here soon and get back to normal life.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it. Thanks, Mike.
All right. Coach Joe Rossi, defensive coordinator, has been our guest here on Gopher Talk, presented by Affinity Plus. So long, Gopher fans.